Morning. I'm out here on the Hasayampa Plain following Tiger Wash. That's the sun coming up over Big Horn Mountain behind me, and we're going to pause and talk about an anime for a moment. Legend of Crystania is a sword and sorcery anime released in North America from ADV Films. It consists of an hour and 20-minute movie and a subsequent 3-part OVA sequel, The Chaos Ring. I'm going to talk just about the movie today. Legend of Crystania takes two of the characters from the Record of the Lotus War OVAs, Pirotess and Ashram, and in a very confusing way tries to spin them into a new story. Those who are familiar with the Lotus OVAs know that there's no real place in the Lotus timeline where you could really drop this story. So presumably someone just rolled up some new characters. The story begins with Pirotess and Ashram on the deck of a large sailing ship becalmed off the shore of a continent, Crystania. Becalmed, they're unable to either make landfall or sail away. In order to get Pirotess and the rest of his crew ashore, Ashram makes a dark covenant with one of the gods of Crystania. That's just the pre-title teaser. Then we leap 300 years into the future and introduce some of the characters of the Kingdom of Hark. Hark is a small agricultural kingdom located beneath the Great Wall that separates it from Crystania. And by Great Wall, I mean really huge. The main character here is Raiden. He's the young son of a local lord, and he's frustrated with the studies his father has imposed because he would rather take up the sword and become a great knight. One of his tutors is Narsil, a wizard and philosopher of sorts, and one of his friends is one of his father's guardsmen, Quild. Political turmoil back in the capital is about to bring 3 new visitors to Raiden's manor house. One is the Lady Adelicia, a gentle priestess of Radha. She's here to deliver a message from some of the other lords of the kingdom. Acting as her escorts till they get to the manor house is the young Lifan, who's actually a spirit sorceress in much the vein of Daedalus in Lotus War, and Obil, a large man who seems to be Lifan's father or at least guardian. There's probably enough story here to justify a movie on its own with the political turmoil and the various forces going on, but the story's only going to spend about 15 minutes on that, and the point of this is entirely to drive Raiden, Narsil, Quild, Adelicia, Lifan, and Obil into a unwilling alliance as they all end up fleeing the manor house and the guards from the capital city, and they're trapped against the Great Wall. Welcome to Crystania. The gods of Crystania are the sacred beasts. Each of them takes a different animal for a totem. The god Lumus, who guards the barrier wall, is the serpent god, and his people can even take serpent form. Barsus is the tiger god, and he's the god who originally called the ashram, and his followers can take tiger form. There are also people worshipping lizards, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, one eagle-winged girl, and in the OVA we even meet the fearsome butterflies. Now that they're in Crystania, Raiden is trying to find the god who offered him that power. Everyone else is just trying to stay alive. The serpent people are out to kill the outsiders simply because they're not from Crystania. These people are really serious about immigration policy. The bear people are after the priestess Adelicia simply because they don't like the god she worships, Radha. And the tiger people are searching for someone called Cher, and their search method seems to be to just kill everyone who isn't Cher, and who's ever left standing must be she. Amid all this confusion, the refugees from Hark, Raiden and company run into the mysterious Cher and her bodyguard Volks, one of the lion people. They're currently being attacked by the serpent people. Cute elf versus snake men. Which side do you think they'd take? Pirotessa, or Cher, is trying to liberate her lord and love, Ashram, from his deal with the dark god Barsus, the tiger totem. She's been trying to do this for 300 years now, so it's a good thing elves are long-lived. In that time, she's become a bit of an icon to the other people of Cristania who are fighting against Barsus's tyranny, and at least she has some sort of plan for how she might go about it. Pirotessa's quest soon becomes the newcomer's quest as well. Raiden is looking for Barsus for other reasons. He's looking to get that power he's been promised. Narsil and Adelicia go along because they're still trying to talk Raiden out of his quest for revenge, since that never ends well. The story is Cristania's strong suit. It has a multifaceted plot, and it leaves us feeling, like with many good fantasy novels, that the world it's set in has a depth and complexity that we've only just begun to plumb. In fact, there may be too much story here for a simple hour and 20-minute movie, especially when the first 20 minutes were spent introducing Pirotess first and then the other characters of Hark in a plot line that we essentially threw away just to collect the characters together. The characters are rather weak, though. Raiden is a leaf driven on the wind. He's out for revenge in a classic style. And although we spent the first 20 minutes of the movie seeing how these characters got to meet back in Hark and were thrown together in what may not be a way that would make them natural allies before they ended up as the only outsiders in Cristania, the story then doesn't do much with whatever conflicts and desires they may have left behind in Hark. Soon after Char, or Pirotessa, meets the characters from Hark, she becomes the dominant force, just as her quest becomes the dominant plot point. She's the only character we have any sympathy for in terms of her desire to free Ashram, which is strange since she was a villain back in the Lotus War. However, her personality here seems to have been toned down a little. In Lotus, she was a real kick-ass sorceress and swordswoman, and pretty handy with knives. Here she's mostly running away and hiding behind the male characters, and she seems to have forgotten all about her magic. So 300 years sure has taken the starch out of her. The artwork here is almost annoyingly plain. The character designs are very simple and the costumes don't have much detail at all. Only a few of the backgrounds have any richness to them, and those were mostly the ones down in Hark, which we left behind fairly early. Compared to other fantasy works of the same time period, such as Arslan or Weathering Continent, it seems almost primitive, a throwback into the 70s. The animation is slightly better than it was for the Record of the Lotus War OVAs, at least towards the end, but then this is a theatrical movie. Usually I have respect for ADV Films' dubs, but the English language track here is very stilted. Maybe it was one of their very early efforts, or maybe they picked it up from a contractor. Whatever, I'd stick with the subtitles. Overall, I'm going to give the Legend of Cristania movie 3 stars. If you were a big fan of the Lotus War, you'd probably rate it a little higher. It's worth seeing for the intricate plot, although you have to look past the artwork in order to get into that. There was a sequel OVA series called The Chaos Ring. Thanks for listening.